Hello and welcome to another 8-track tape showcase, Hard Rock and Heavy Metal Edition. In this video, I'll be showing you some of the most difficult, hard to find, and rare 8-track tapes from the 1980s. And without further ado, we'll start with this one right here from a very well-known band called AC/DC. This is their Who Made Who album, released in 1986 to go along with the movie. I forget the name of the movie now. I saw it when it came out in the theaters. Anyway, this is the tape, and it's in pretty good shape. These are very hard to find. This is a record club only edition. As you might know from some of the other videos I've done, the record clubs were the only ones producing 8-track tapes after 1983, so you couldn't get them in stores. You had to sign up for the record club and have them ship them to you, and you had to pick the 8-track tape format. Otherwise, you get getting CDs or cassettes, and of course most people didn't choose 8-track tapes because no one was playing them anymore at that point. Okay, here's the number 2, and these are in no particular order as I'm picking them off the pile here. This is Black Sabbath's Born Again. It's not in the best shape. For some reason, I haven't seen a whole lot of these in great shape. This is another like the Bon Jovi I had from the last video, where I could envision somebody just popping this into the tape player in their car or their stereo and just playing the heck out of it, because it's a good album. It got panned pretty bad when it came out. It's got some issues with the sound quality and so forth, but the songs are really good. But I tell you what, this cover has been voted like one of the worst covers of all time, and all kinds of things. So you either love it or hate it. Anyway, that's Black Sabbath's Born Again, and that would be number 2 on the list for today. Number 3 is David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile. Came out in 1986. This is a difficult one to find as well. Actually, all of these are pretty hard to find. Sometimes you might wait years on eBay to try to see one come up for auction. It's pretty colorful. This is in a pretty nice shape. You can't miss that album cover with that face. It's pretty bold and iconic, I guess. So there you go, David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile. Here's one from the, it's not a heavy metal tape, but this is a rock tape from 1987, and this is George Harrison's Cloud 9. This is a factory sealed copy as well. You can see by the cellophane, and also as I showed you in the other video, you can tell factory sealed. I don't know if you can see it with the glare, but there's it's folded kind of like a cigarette wrapper, where you have the cellophane folded at the sides. That's usually the best way to tell. And there's the spine. Notice in the in 1987 and 88, they started to get a little bit lazy, I guess, with the printing. And you'll notice that it's very stock. It's like every one of them. There's no logos or anything like that. It's just plain black lettering on white. But it's kind of cool. I think the cartridges are really interesting from that era, and they have like a beauty about them just because they're so simple. And George Harrison's Cloud 9 from 1987. Okay, going to 1984, back to some hard rock and metal. We got Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith. This is their final album on 8-track. This is in pretty good shape. It's got a little wear on the edge there. All in all, it's pretty nice. The label's in great shape. Colorful album. This is highly sought by collectors. Like I said, it's the last one released for Judas Priest. Another hard rock heavy metal band, and this is one of the better ones from the 80s, is Accept, Balls to the Wall. Somewhat controversial cover there, but this came out in 1984. The back, you can see the printing. Anyway, Accepts Balls to the Wall, 1984. All right. Here's a band that needs no introduction right here. Kiss, 1982's comeback album, so to speak, Creatures of the Night. Although it didn't sell a whole lot of albums when it came out, but it was the album that got them back to rocking hard after The Elder came out and pretty much flopped. I think it's a beautiful cover. It's one of my favorite 8-tracks ever. The blue with the tan cartridge. I think it's just beautiful. I mean, it's like one of my favorites. There's the spine, and then the back you can see. So Kiss, Creatures of the Night. It wasn't their last one on 8-track, and in fact, you could get this in stores, I believe, very limited. That's why, and this is not a record club version. This is a store version. It's a Casablanca Polygram Records, and I think that this is their toughest 8-track to find. In fact, if you do see one of these in good shape, it'll go $500-600 pretty easily. And they did have a couple albums after that were released, but they were through the record club, and they're pretty hard to find too. You've got Animalize and Lick It Up. Lick It Up is really hard to find too. And Creatures, I believe, is the hardest. Lick It Up is close second though. That's not an easy catch there either. Okay, so. Moving on here, we are down to number 8, I believe. This is Billy Idol, Vital Idol. This is from 1987. This happens to be a factory sealed one. I didn't even realize that till I opened the box that I kept them in. It's a factory sealed. It's really hard to find. It's his final album. They don't have. He had Whiplash Smile also in 87, and you can find that. Vital Idol, though, is the toughest one to locate, in my opinion. That would be Billy Idol's Vital Idol, 1987, and then moving on to number 9. Oh boy, this one is tough. Dire Straits, Money for Nothing. This came out in 1988. It was one of the last 8-tracks ever printed. Now, I'm going to do a separate video on the final 2 8-tracks ever printed, and that will come out shortly. We'll talk about that later, but anyway, for this video, this is Dire Straits' Money for Nothing. I've only seen 1 or 2 copies of this over the last 12 or 13 years. It's really tough to find, but anyway, that would be Dire Straits' Money for Nothing. And finally, I actually have 2 I wanted to show you here. This happens to be Rush, Power Windows. Now this copy here is actually a replica. I bought a replica a few years ago because I figured I would never find the real thing. It is darn near impossible to find. This is a good replica though, and it actually plays, it plays the music. Everything's on there as it should. This is a rare album that the songs don't click over on the splice. You have all the programs going straight. You don't have a song getting cut off. But anyway, this is a replica. I'm going to show you the real thing now. After I got the replica, then popped up a real one. I actually got really lucky. It was in a lot that someone was selling. It's a RCA Club version from 1985. As you notice, again, that's one of the rare albums that the songs are not cut off by the program. Usually, if you remember, when you had 8 tracks back in the 70s and 80s, you listened to them, you'd have a song, it'd say part 1, and then part 2 would be on the second track. It'd be a little annoying because you'd have to hear that click, and then the song would resume. So it was very few albums that actually they were able to get all the songs. And this is one of them where there's no interruption. And another one comes to mind, I believe, is U2's Joshua Tree. I'll have to check that, but I think that one is also another one. There's a few others too. I think there's a Van Halen album as well. That's Rush's Power Windows, and that's an absolute gem. It's the last 8-track that was produced for Rush. They were done after that, as many bands were. It doesn't seem like there was a lot of rhyme or reason too. Like sometimes you'll have a band, they'll have one of their albums released, then the next album is not on 8-track, and then the one after that is. So it's really difficult to find any type of logic to it. Seemed like some of the popular albums, they would try to figure out what was popular, put it out there, and make a few sales, because they weren't selling a lot of 8-tracks in the 80s. Again, that's why it makes them so rare and so special. Anyway, thank you very much again for watching this video, and I hope I'll see you on the next one. And check out my other ones. I have one on hair metal bands of the 80s, very rare tapes as well. And if you haven't seen that one, please check it out. I'll put a link in the comments. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.